Okay, thanks. So, the goal of this talk, it started last year when we had the presentation about the capabilities of ExaModels and MathNLP. We were quite impressed. And so, after giving them the JuMP-dev prize last year, we discussed a bit during the hackathon, how can we maybe better integrate this into JuMP? Because a lot of models have already been written with JuMP, and maybe they want to try to use ExaModels. But the problem with ExaModels is at the moment you will need to change your model quite a lot, because you cannot just use the JuMP macros to be able to use ExaModel. And so we wanted to check if it's possible to take existing JuMP models and directly say, no, I want this model, but with ExaModels. How easy can we make this transition? And so I continued a bit on the work we started during hackathon, and I created a package called GenOpt. And the goal was as follows. So first, I wanted to create an MOI interface for the kind of prime structure that ExaModels wants. So basically what ExaModels wants is if you have maybe a million of constraints, but they are all the same, just maybe some parameters are changing. You want to say, well, it's this constraint template, and then you have these parameters, and it takes these million different values. And that's how you want to represent the constraints. And so if we add MOI, a function that is exactly this function template, then it means that we can represent in our data structure we use to represent optimization problems, this kind of structure. And so this means that then you can either have the user that explicitly specifies this structure at JuMP level, or you can have that maybe the user didn't explicitly specify it, but you have some way of recovering it, and then once you recover it, you can write it in this MOI model where the structure is explicitly specified, maybe save it or send it. It will be a much smaller JuMP model. And then you can communicate it to a solver that explicitly supports this structure. Then of course, if you want to model a problem that supports this structure, you also want the same model to be able to be solved with solvers that don't care about this grouping structure. But this, in JuMP, we have the bridges for that. If a model says, I don't understand what this grouping of constraint with a template and with parameters, you can say, okay, it's fine. I will just recreate these millions of constraints for you. You can treat them separately. Okay, so to show you a bit what ExaModels looks like, we can check the examples. So you will see that there are several ways that you can specify this grouping of constraints with ExaModels. So they have 3 examples. The optimal power flow example use a third way that it's not implemented in GenOpt, so I use the quadrature one because I implemented the 2 ways that I use here. So the first way is you can specify a constraint like this. So when you write this, it means that so you have x0s, which is a vector of tuples. And so if here n is 9, you have a vector of 9 elements, and this creates 9 constraints. And for each constraint, you have a different value of I and x0. And so here it knows that these 9 constraints are very similar because the only thing that change are this and this. In here, it's a simple iterator because it's just a vector, not even a vector of tuple. Here as well. What is a bit more complicated is for the objective. In the objective, you have only one objective, not a group of objectives, but you have one objective where in this objective you have a sum, and each term of the sum is very similar. So in Objective, when you use this syntax specifying a Julia generator, what you mean is that these different terms should be summed. And so here you specify I, j, and r becoming in this iterator, and this iterator was constructed explicitly like this. So here these are Cartesian products. So you take Cartesian product of I, j, and then here you take some entries in R, and here you evaluate some complicated function that you prefer to evaluate it upfront rather than evaluate it every time you run AD. So essentially, you see that with GenOpt, the interface is you should be very specific about, you should use this generator syntax, basically, where you give a Julia function that returns the expression for every term of the objective or every constraint, and then you have an iterator, which is basically a vector of tuples. And sometimes this is obtained by some Cartesian products. So how would we do this example if you want to make it easier to transition existing JuMP model and use GenOpt? So we want to make it closer to the syntax we have in JuMP. So we start by creating a model. For the constraint creation, it's the same thing. So here I create an array of variables u, so it will be something like that. Here, nothing changed yet. But then if we look at this first constraint, the way we would write it in JuMP is like this. So we have actually 9 constraints, and so we say there is this I iterator that goes from 1 to 9, and then here this is you access one of the variables, and here you will simply take one of the starting points. Okay. Now, probably existing models, they will have this syntax, and so if you don't want people to have to change their models too much, actually one way is to use the container keyword argument. And the reasoning behind this is that actually, as you saw, the ExaModel.constraint, what it's using is, as interface, it takes a Julia generator object, which gives the iterator and the function that gives the constraint for every iterate. And actually, this is very similar to how we handle containers in JuMP. When you define custom containers in JuMP, what you receive is also a Julia function giving you new function, the new constraint for every iterate, and then the iterator. So in a sense, if we define a new container, we will receive exactly like very similar object that one ExaModels need. So what this does is you define this I iterate, and so here you will receive a function that depends on this I. And so what I do is I create some custom Julia object which represent this I, and then I use operator overloading and try to interact correctly with the JuMP variable, JuMP expression, and so on, to at the end represent some kind of expression graph for these constraints that represent this constraint depends on I. And here I recognize that you index a vector of constant with I, and so I know that probably ExaModels would want a vector of tuples with this as a second value. Again, so the other constraints, you can do it similarly. So the only thing you have to change is the container. So essentially, if you have an existing, if you change this container equal this to containers equal array, then you get the typical JuMP model that you would get. And you just have to change the type of the container, and suddenly, instead of creating different constraints, it creates groups of constraints. Okay, and groups of constraints is a new MY function that no server supports at the moment, but when JuMP receives it, it's able to understand that it is just some function that maybe some solver has defined as a new function. Now for the objective, in ExaModels, it was interpreting somehow these generators as sum. Here, if I was using the sum, then it would just fall back to the classical Julia sum and doing the sum of my object, but I don't really want to do that. Here, I don't really want to actually do the sum. I want to do the sum lazily. And so I create this new lazy sum function, which takes some generator as argument. And then I will just look at here what are the iterators, create the same iterator object as for the constraint, give them to this expression, and then build this expression tree, which contains JuMP variables, but also these I and j iterators. Here for the d function, it should probably be able to detect that it's best to not create the expression graph for this d function, but rather take them directly as values. But this is not done yet, so I just do it explicitly. Now, once this is done, I've created a new custom optimizer, which is very similar. ExaModels already had JuMP-interface, so it already had MY optimizer. And what this optimizer was doing is receiving all these constraints ungrouped and trying to regroup the constraints that have similar expression graph with just some parameters changing. And so I took a lot of inspiration from that code, and I added support for constraint where you already have the groups explicitly given. And then it does something very similar. It transforms to exactly what ExaModel expects as input format. And then you can use any solver supporting the NLP models interface. So for example, you can use MathNLP. And then you get the same result as you would get with JuMP. But you can also, now very easily, because it's using ExaModels, say I want to do that on GPU. And here, you would have the AD done on GPU by ExaModels, and also MathNLP using GPUs. Okay, so let's discuss a little bit what was a bit tricky and a bit on the details. So here I briefly mentioned, so sometimes you want, when you have an iterator, sometimes you want to, like for example, here you have I plus 1. Here, of course, it's much better to, you have the iterator I in your expression graph. It's much better here to build the expression graph I plus 1, rather than in the vector of tuples adding 1 and 3s, which would correspond to I plus 1, because it's very easy to just compute I plus 1 from I. But on the other hand, in here, if you were to represent this in the expression graph, it would mean that you need one node that contains the whole vector of x zeros. And then you say, I want to represent indexing this vector with I. In that case, you actually prefer to say that in your iterators, you have a tuple with I and x0, which is, so your iterator is actually a tuple of 2 elements, and then you just increment the length of the elements of your tuples. So there is some kind of choice that you have to make. In ExaModels, it's very explicit because you give this vector of tuples. In here, of course, if you want existing JuMP models to just be able to use ExaModels, they've already written code like this, and so you want to make this decision explicitly, and then figure out, okay, maybe I need to add more elements to my tuples, or maybe this can be expressed in the expression graph. So there was this issue with the Cartesian product. So then here in JuMP, you would, if you use, we already support Cartesian product with the containers. So if you have 2 iterators in your containers, we just create a matrix. And ExaModels, it expects just a vector of tuples, so you have to do this Cartesian product. But this can be handled somehow transparently. The last issue was array of variables. So when you index, here U is a matrix of variables, when you index this with iterators, if you want to do this indexing efficiently on GPUs, you actually need this matrix to, it's much better if this matrix, you know that the first element has some index, and then the index of all the other elements is just shift by 1 along the columns and shift by number of rows, shift by 1 along the rows and shift by number of rows along the columns, for instance. And so when I receive this expression, then I just know that U is a matrix of variables. So I can check that this matrix of variables is indeed consecutive variables. In that case, then I know how to do this efficiently and give it to ExaModels, saying this is a very simple matrix of variables. It's just constant offset. But if it's not, somehow if the user rearrange variables in a weird way, then probably we cannot do anything. No, I'm not on the right slides. And so, yeah, so at the moment what I did is that I created a new custom type, which is a matrix of an array of variables, and I just need to specify what's the size of that array and what's the offset, or what's the first index of that array, and I add it to the nonlinear expression object. And so, yeah, at the moment in JuMP, the nonlinear expression object only have scalar nodes, but we have an ongoing desire of starting to be able to also have nodes that correspond to values which has arrays. So when we made it possible, when you have a JuMP model, to use convex.gl to reformulate it with DCP, we had this issue that convex, of course, works much better if you have expression graph that have array as nodes, because then you can do SDP, logdet, and so on. And we've also started array_diff, which is where the goal is to be able to do automatic differentiation. It started as a copy of the MY reverse AD, which is just scalar, and try to extend it to arrays as well. So this is adding arrays in JuMP nonlinear expression, but probably we're going this way anyway. Okay, that's it.